Hey everybody, that guy Joe here with the tool review. I wanted to talk to you about some ratchets that I've recently purchased. Tekton roto-head, I got a Tekton 3/8 set, and the Gearwrench locking flex head 84 tooth. I've been replacing my Craftsman tools. I've had some USA made products from the early 2000s. I've never really been happy with them. They've got the job done, but the fit and feel leaves a lot to be desired. These don't feel good in my hand, and I've got a chance to use some better tools here in the recent past, and it's really shined a light on how poor quality the Craftsmans were. So I've been looking to upgrade, and I'm hoping for the price point, the Tekton and the Gearwrench are going to provide a better tool for me. The Tekton seems to be a really highly reviewed product. The company's got a great web presence. It looks like they're really trying to stand behind their product and make sure they've got a good name out there and great warranty, customer service. Gearwrench has a good following. A lot of people really like their tools. I'm hoping it'll be a good wrench as well. Now, there's a couple things I don't like about the Tekton. I haven't had a chance to use them much yet, but just out of the box, there's a couple things I've noticed. The indicator on the roto-head. With this thing turned to the right, I would think that'd be tightening. I don't know what the R and the arrow is supposed to indicate, but that's loosening, so it's freewheeling to the right. Now, that said, my snap-on to the right, it's going to operate the same way, but it's more clearly marked. It obviously says off or loosen is going to be all the way to the right. The selector on the 3/8 ratchet that came with the set, with it over to the left, that's going to loosen. With the Gearwrench, my Craftsman, my Husky wrench made by Stanley, Matco snap-on, all of these other ratchets operate the opposite way. With it to the left, it's going to tighten. To the right, you're going to loosen. The only other ratchet on this bench that operates the same way as the Tekton is this old Price Club wrench. And you can see they're very similar design. The Tekton looking like an updated, improved version, but otherwise very visually similar. My second issue with this ratchet is the head thickness. That is a fat head. Compare it with this snap-on, or I'm sorry, this Stanley. You can see just a massive difference in the head thickness. This has about a 14.2 millimeter thickness on the housing there, and the Tekton's 4 millimeters thicker, 18.2 on the housing. Now, you can't just consider the housing thickness, because when you get into clearance spots, you've got to worry about the release button and the anvil height. And that's one place that this improves over what the Husky has. The anvil height is pretty close to the face. So when you put a socket on there, there's not a huge gap. It's not snug tight up against there, but it's not a massive gap. Now compare that with the Stanley. That is a huge gap on there. I don't know if you can see that real well on the camera, but that's probably 3 millimeters of gap right there. It's just massive. So when you take in the anvil height and the overall thickness comparison, what used to be a 4 millimeter difference in housing thickness, now the overall thickness of this is 32.5 millimeters. And it's got a tall release button on the back of it. where the Husky has a fairly flat release. This is 30.8 millimeters thick. So that 4 millimeters of housing thickness, a lot of that gets eaten up on this Husky by how far the anvil sticks off of the face of the ratchet. So that is one thing that I like better about the Tekton compared to the Husky. And the Craftsman's, while they don't have a super snug fit on the face either, they're better than what the Husky has. Not quite as good as what the Tekton has, and nowhere near what the Gearwrench has. That's just a nice snug fit the way it should be. And this low profile head that the Gearwrench has, that'll be great for places where you have very minimal overhead clearance. So there it is. The biggest complaint on my Tekton being the thickness and the selectors. Everything else about it seems like it'll be a decent ratchet. It's a fairly, I won't say narrow head, but average. It's thinner than what the Gearwrench is as far as head width. Not quite as thin as what the Craftsman is, and thinner than what the Husky is. It doesn't come close to matching up with the Snap-on or some of these other higher dollar tools, but for the price point, it'll be fine. Thanks for watching.